Okay, hey Perry, it's great to see you. How have you been?
Great to see you. Oh, great. My fall season's getting started. Feels like things are getting back to like a normal busy pace. So no complaints.
What do your summers look like? Are you off doing festivals and stuff? Or
A bit. So for the trumpet, things are a little bit different in the summer. We have very busy falls and very busy springs. Um, but the January and February can be quite slow, and then the summer is spotty. There's some festivals, kind of, you kind of get into your groove and your normal festivals that you do, but then August can be a little bit light, and then September, as things get back into the swing of things, early music trumpets were usually the last ones in.
well, it's probably nice to have a little bit of a break anyway, right? We all need just a
Oh,
little
oh, for
downtime.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to kind of make the shift into to whatever rep we've got for the fall. It tends to be a little bit different.
Sure,
A lot of
sure.
a lot of messiahs in the winter, a lot of B minor masses in the spring.
Well, do you ever get tired of Messiah?
No,
No.
not even a little bit.
Okay,
Not even a little bit.
that's
I
great.
I played 18 of them last year, and they were all enjoyable. I enjoyed every one of them.
Wow. All right, that's a lot of Messiahs. So
Yeah.
I should say I'm speaking to Perry Sutton, baroque trumpet player and trumpet player in general, extraordinaire, who's coming to our the Newburyport Winter Baroque concert on Sunday, December 22nd. Um, so Perry, just a couple of questions, some background.
Of course.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in South Jersey, just outside of Philadelphia, about 10 minutes outside of Center
Oh,
City.
go
My
Eagles!
my yeah, absolutely. And big I'm glad that the interview we're doing is tonight, not last night, because I lost my voice watching the Phillies playoff game. So
Okay. Well, how are you feeling then?
oh, fantastic.
Okay.
Fantastic. Yeah. A win always feels good.
This is good. Did you drive into the city and turn over a couple of police cars and this kind of thing? Or a proper
No,
celebration.
no, I just lost my voice at home on the couch, and then I was in Manhattan yesterday for a concert, and then made it home just in time for first pitch. So
Very good. Very good.
yeah.
So, when did you start playing the trumpet? And, did you start on anything else? Did you start on piano first or,
I
violin?
I
Or, I mean,
I,
because
I kind
trumpet,
of wish I
and because of the embouchure, right? You can't start at, 2.5 years old or
certainly can't. I started around the age of 8, playing the trumpet. It's, kind of all I've ever really wanted to do. But my first instrument actually was I played four-string plectrum banjo with my father when I was about a few years younger than that. Whatever led into like second or third grade, and then in third grade I kind of picked up the trumpet and kind of just sort of ran with it.
so you and your father would play banjo together, or he would.
Oh yeah, my father was a professional banjo player when my parents met.
Wow.
Yeah, and still plays, still sounds amazing. Would do like American Songbook reductions, and actually like not your typical like banjo music that you would think of, but
Old
more
timey stuff. Yeah.
yeah, but like just like a great ear, and could like really come up with some like fabulous harmonies, and could fill
Hmm.
out things. It was incredible to grow up around.
Well, who's that great banjo player? I want to say like Chris Thiele. Uh, I know my friend Beth up in Newburyport is a huge fan, and he does, Bach, and
Oh, we'll have
I
to
think it's
chat about
banjo.
that
I
when I
just
get
thought
there.
banjo. Now oh, geez. I even have a recording of his. It's wonderful. So,
Oh, well,
anyway, all right.
Bach works on everyone's instrument, so
Yeah, that's true,
yeah.
actually. Do you ever play solo Bach uh, transcriptions on the trumpet, like violin or
For,
cello?
so the cello suites actually, work pretty well on modern trumpet and on flugelhorn as well. So in my undergraduate, I studied with one of the trumpet players from the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra, and he used to practice the cello suites and use them as a means to learn transposition and flexibility and expand range. I mean, there's so much good stuff in there for us. It's impossibly hard, and it's but to really try and refine it and polish it can really make strides in technique for sure.
Well, what makes it difficult? And also, you should probably tell people what a flugelhorn is if people don't know.
Sure. So, I mean, we'll start with got a modern trumpet. So this is kind of what everyone would um, associate with the trumpet. The trumpet didn't look like this until the mid 19th century. So the piston valve didn't get invented until I think for musical applications until like the 1830s. It wasn't common on certainly on a trumpet until a little bit after that. So before,
And the valve
bef-
is the
so the valve, yeah, is literally like these guys here.
right. And if
So
I understand properly, if you unravel the trumpet, right, you how
mhm.
long would a modern trumpet be if you unraveled all that tubing?
So a modern trumpet would be a little bit shy, right around 3.5 to 4 feet, depending on the key. Um, so the lower the key, the longer the trumpet. So and it became a means to make the instrument chromatic because before that it looked like this. So there's no valves and it's over twice as long.
And
Um,
what do the valves you say makes it chromatic? But technically
for,
speaking, what are those valves doing to the
for,
trumpet then?
So the easiest way to put it would be to show it from this side. You've got three valves and you've got a straight tube. So it starts here, goes around, goes through the valves, and then it curves around, goes to the bell. So this, as it stands right now, without any valves depressed, is a B flat bugle. It'll play the entire B flat overtone series. So then if I press this valve in the middle, that's a half step. So that gives me an A bugle and it gives me all of the notes associated in the overtone series with A.
So that
So then this
shortens the length just a little bit.
it lengthens it actually.
Oh, length. Oh, because it goes through a
Yeah,
different tube.
right. Yeah,
Right.
so so you're adding tubing. And then here goes to A flat, here goes to yeah, here goes to A flat. So and you keep adding half steps until you get seven different combinations of valves, which will give you seven different bugles basically. And so with a combination of those, you're grabbing different parts of the overtone series and it allows the instrument to play in half steps.
I see.
Um,
I see.
so
And how
so
much are you changing the? So I know nothing about brass
yeah, no,
instruments,
no.
but how much are you changing the pitch with your armature also?
So ideally to play in tune. The instrument will only take you so far. You're basically setting it up. Your embouchure is doing the bulk of the work, and then you're setting the instrument up through valve combinations to properly resonate the pitch that you're generating here.
Right. And so the embouchure you would define as the shape of your mouth.
Sure, it's yeah, it's the musculature around the mouth and the teeth.
Mhm.
So you're creating different shapes and just allowing these your lips. Basically, it's like the same as a woodwind instrument, except your reed is your lips.
I see. So
So then you're vibrating that.
how many trumpets do you need then in your
So
arsenal?
um, that's a complicated question, or it can be. So for my baroque trumpet playing, um, I have, and I don't like to have too much stuff. So I usually try to keep the minimum number of things that I can reasonably do my job. Um, so we need to be able to play all the way from F down to low B flat. So F, E, E flat, D, C, and B flat, but at 440, 430, and 415.
Right. And
So
we should say those are different
pitch levels.
A
Yeah.
pitch
Yep.
levels.
So different A pitch levels. So the modern standard of pitch is somewhere in and around 440 hertz. Then baroque pitch is about a half step lower than that, but then right in between, um, we do classical pitch for Mozart, Beethoven. Um, as we get through as we progress in time, the A is slightly shifted up. Um, so depending on the ensemble I'm playing in or what the repertoire is, that changes what A we get asked to play at.
Right.
Modern instruments, I mean, I usually will need a B flat trumpet, a C trumpet, an E flat trumpet, a piccolo trumpet, a flugelhorn, a cornet, and I'm probably forgetting. So yeah, I mean,
Wait, so what's
for
a
a modern,
flugelhorn and a cornet?
okay, so a trumpet is made generally of mostly cylindrical tubing. A cornet has a little bit more conical shaped tubing. So it's smaller to large, which will create a little bit darker and rounder of a tone. And then a flugelhorn is actually the smallest member of the tuba family, so it's much more conical. So it starts off at a very, very small bore and opens up to a very widely throated bell. Most people would associate the flugelhorn with like Chuck Mangione or Clark Terry or Art Farmer. Who were really well known for their flugelhorn playing. Um, but that gets called for in a lot of different repertoire. So, you do kind of have to have it. For a modern trumpet playing, I need generally about 7 or 8 instruments. And then for the Baroque side of things, about another 5 or 6,
So
depending on rep.
our concert, we're doing, I guess it's a transcription of Handel water music, right? Uh,
Right.
and some Purcell and
Some Purcell.
Corelli. Uh,
Hmm.
so how many trumpets are you bringing in December up to Boston and Newburyport?
So I'll be bringing, I believe, 3 trumpets, because I'll need one to play. Um, the instrument that you would use for Corelli is slightly different. So it's going to be the same key as the instrument I would use for Handel and Purcell, but the English music and the Italian music call for slightly different timbres that are much more easily achieved by playing an instrument that's kind of geared towards that repertoire.
Hmm. So what's the difference between an Italian and an English timbre? Uh, the Italian one's more garlicky.
Oh, the Italian one it's a little bit lighter. Um, it tends to sit in the upper register a little bit more. Um, so something that emphasizes the high overtones, and it's a little bit lighter, even physically in weight, will create a little bit more of a sparkly sound in the upper register that in the lower register where Handel and Purcell have a lot of fundamentals in the lower octave and they both highlight that aspect of the instrument. Um, Something that's a little bit wider of a sound um, tends to what the lower register fanfare figures speak a little bit more clearly.
What do you mean by wider sound?
So I mean, a fuller sound. There's a little bit more core to the sound. So it's
I see.
the difference between like a bass drum and a floor tom is the bass drum's going to have a little bit more fundamental. Trumpets for English music tend to have a little bit more um, variance and timbre. So the lower register is quite dark and allows you to really kind of play with a very fanfare like quality in that lower register. And the Italian, an instrument that would suit Italian repertoire tends to come into its own in the upper register.
I see. So how many trumpets do you have? Do you even know how many you have?
If if I'm just gonna guess, the answer is I don't know. The joke is every time I like have to play a modern gig, I'm finding trumpets under my couch. Or I went when I moved last year and I found 3 instruments in my closet I had forgotten I owned. I hadn't seen them in like a decade. But um, if I had to guess, probably around 18 to 20.
Wow. And all right, this is going to be a really embarrassing question, but
Yeah.
I mean, I know as a viola player, you go to you go to a luthier or a violin dealer, but especially for trumpets like this, very specialized, where are you going to purchase trumpets like this?
So so actually,
Or are you
I work.
commissioning? Can you commission a trumpet?
You can, basically for the early instruments, that's sort of what you have to do. Um, Brass instruments, oddly enough, don't last as long as woodwind instruments. Um, brass is made of copper and zinc, and
Uh,
as you play it, human saliva dissolves zinc. So over time, your trumpets basically rust to death, or they can.
mhm,
Um, so that's why there are many more um, period stringed instruments that have survived than period brass instruments.
mm.
The better instruments either got just beaten beaten into submission, or they disintegrated, or they just kind of lost the time. Whereas the great stringed instruments have lasted. But there's a lot of good manufacturing for modern instruments that I happen to work in New Jersey at probably the premier brass specialty store for trumpets down to tubas, on the continent.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Where's
so
that store and what's it called?
it's called Dylan Music. It's in Woodbridge, New Jersey, so it's actually very close to Newark Airport. Brass instruments are much less expensive than stringed instruments, I should qualify. So, but for us, like, the tubas tend to be the most expensive. So if someone's going to buy, say, a $20,000 tuba, they're probably gonna fly to us and take a day and try a few dozen before they drop that money. It's the plane ticket's cheaper than shipping back and forth at $400 and $500 a pop to try instruments.
Sure.
Um, so I work there in the capacity of, making custom mouthpieces for brass instruments. Um,
Wait, so is how do you it's
so
is it on like a metal lathe?
yeah, yep. So it's turned on a metal lathe. You basically put that there. You set this up on one end, and the whole thing spins,
And you're
and you
starting
come
with
at it with
a cylinder of
brass
meat.
bar stock. Yep, exactly.
Wow,
And
just
then
like a
and then
rod,
cutting.
basically.
Yep, and then cutting the internal shape in here, boring it through, cutting
Oh,
the reverse side.
look at
Yeah,
that.
for sure. Yeah. Um, I obviously will make my own mouthpieces to use to my own specifications, and
And what are those?
um,
What metal are those made out of? Is it the same as the
those are also made out of brass, but then are silver plated or gold plated. Um,
And does it, I mean, does it modify to your mouth and your embouchure over time?
no, no,
No.
the metal doesn't move. Hopefully, but it's but everybody's got like slightly different specific tastes, either for the timbre that you can get from a different specifications or physical comfort.
Hmm.
So you can really dial into your specific playing needs.
Wow. So, uh, can you, so if you look, I think of like a, physical therapist, you walk in the room of a physical therapist and they'll look at you over and, immediately you'll be like, okay, I got to work on this and this, and, before you even open your mouth, they're, they can see all sorts of things. If someone walks in the
Pack
shop and they want you to make a mouthpiece for them, can you tell from just looking at their mouth? It's like, okay, I have an idea right off the top.
Not really. So it's kind of that actually is a great question, because it taps into one of the difficult things with brass pedagogy, is all of the important things that you can really determine about someone's playing happen inside of their mouth while a mouthpiece is in front of it. So you have to diagnose everything based off of sound.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't see what a player's tongue is doing. You can't see how their lips are vibrating. You can't really you can see what's outside of the mouthpiece, and then through oral cues, you sort of have to diagnose what's happening inside. So if you hear, if you hear someone's tone is doing, it's a little bit flat or lacks resonance, they might need a little bit more room. Or if it's, or if it's a little bit tubby and a little bit flat, you might need to make something a little bit smaller so that they can then put some, energy into the airstream that will then energize the sound.
Hmm. Wow,
Yeah.
it's subtle stuff, but it's also not that subtle in many
Oh,
ways.
for sure. I mean, most players can feel a very tangible difference at, 5 thousandths of an inch one
Sure.
way or another.
Yeah.
You that when it's right here, that is really, that can be big time stuff.
I mean, certainly on a viola, right? You're holding it like this. If your finger is this way, and
Mhm.
the angle is just doing this and that, can be whether the note's in tune or not.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know if
And
people
that
can even see that, that versus that, right?
yeah, I mean, and we're so on the mouthpiece making side, we're dealing intolerances that are, thinner than a human hair. That can make or break if somebody likes or doesn't like, you know, a piece of equipment.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
So Perry, I want to ask you, and you said it was okay to ask you about this
Yeah, for sure.
kind of freak and awful accident that happened in, I think, 2017, right? Can
Yeah.
you talk a little about what happened and what were the effects
Of
of
course.
that?
Yeah, no, it's, that there I've come to find out over the years that my situation isn't the only one like this, but I was getting ready for work one morning and just kind of running around, probably moving too fast, and I ended up falling backwards into my shower, cracked my head open, um, and ended up with grade 3 traumatic brain injury. Um, ended up with I don't really remember the next year and a half or so. Um, had to go to a couple of years speech therapy, had to relearn how to drive, had to relearn how to play the trumpet because, I didn't dare tell most of my colleagues because you know, I didn't want to not work. And I didn't want to, sit at home and, the things that you in retrospect maybe don't think were important, but there's the things that you can control at the time. So I, uh, I didn't really let people know how bad it was for a long time, but, every time I'd play the instrument for the next few months, I would forget my name. I used to routinely forget where I lived. Um, I yeah, I had a you know, I struggled greatly for the next couple of years, and, I still have some lingering I still get migraines. I've come to find out that I've had some back troubles and neck trouble that, took a few years to manifest from that, but, um, it's one of those things where it was awful, but I was lucky it wasn't worse, to be honest.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, it sounds like, I mean, I read the interview with you about that, and it sounds like there were some unexpected kind of silver linings from this horrible accident.
For sure, it gave me a really good opportunity to rework some of my technique. Um, so, I wouldn't recommend that, if somebody wants to improve their technique at trumpet to go out and hit their head really hard. That's probably not the best way to do it, but it allowed me to kind of go back and relook at old lesson notes that I had taken and try to remove as much physicality from my playing as possible, um, to really become a more efficient machine. So
What does that mean? Remove physicality from your playing?
really change my concept. So instead of using, instead of trying to create endurance through pressure of the instrument to your embouchure, or to by blowing really hard or creating a lot of tension, to really kind of play more into resonance, like really kind of oddly trumpet specific things, but to really, if you look at like an elite world class runner, it looks so fluid, it looks
Mm.
effortless. You look at most people that do anything at an extremely high level, it looks effortless.
Mm.
You watch, vintage Tiger Woods swing a golf club. It looks effortless. You watch Michael Jordan play basketball. It's just this fluid, just motion. It's just there's a flow, and
There's an
kind of
efficiency as
chasing
opposed to
that.
just brute force, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, you getting more out of finesse than out of sheer strength.
Hmm. Hmm.
And on the trumpet, that pays such dividends. So, I was able my range got better. My tone got a little bit more resonant. Like things that I've been trying to work on, but you know, um, I had to do that to physically take pressure off of my head while I was playing because every time I would play, I would get lightheaded and feel like I was going to pass out, or as I had mentioned, to forget forget where I was or who I was or what I was doing, or you know.
You'd mentioned in the interview this caught my eye. It was something new because the recovery was you wrote it was not linear recovery, but as a
Oh, for
musician
sure.
who's been used to a different approach to learning.
This was a great conversation that I had with my doctor during recovery. Was I was getting very frustrated because I went through a lot of peaks and valleys, and kind of in a time period when things weren't going particularly well. Very frustrated, and I was asking my doctor, like, what else could I be doing to get better? And he said, well, and he was looking at my stuff. He said, okay, I see that you're a musician, and we've talked about playing golf because I mean I love any chance I get to play golf, I'm playing golf. um, and he said, so it looks like for what you do for fun and for work are two things that if you practice diligently, you see tangible results. I said, yeah, absolutely. You work hard to get better at something. This isn't that. There, you're not going to be able to work. It's going to do this. It's going to, and he used the term nonlinear. It's going to be, it's not going to be a straight line. It's going to zigzag. It's going to go up and down. And I mean, he was extremely correct in that assessment. But over time, you know, it may do this, but the general trend has been so much up.
So would you say that the a side effect or unintended result, well, not intended at all, but of this accident was sounds like your whole outlook on life, approach to life
Uh,
changed.
for sure, it definitely made me more conscious of it. Um, I can be a bit of a closeted optimist. Um, you
So
know,
what does that mean exactly? What is closeted?
or, uh, I tend to be optimistic about most things and think that the good things are going to happen. But I usually don't dare bring it up or vocalize it. Um, I do find sarcastic or self-deprecating humor to be funny to me. Maybe maybe not as much to other people, but um, no, but it's definitely made me a little bit more intentional, I think, in things that I do or ways that I go about things. I think I tend to be a little bit, more pointed, more focused, and more you know, looking for reasons, looking for things that can go right rather than worrying about things that could go wrong.
And it shifted more in that direction after the accident.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely,
All
for
right.
sure. It's I've seen how bad things can get. I don't know if they could get worse. I don't want to find out, but there's a lot a lot of good to look for. You just got to kind of go and find it.
Yeah. Well, we should start to wrap up here, but so
Yeah.
can you give me two recordings, one classical with the trumpet, classical music, not necessarily the period, obviously,
For
and
sure.
one if you listen to any non-classical music, uh, and I'll put links in for people. Is there one recording you would suggest for someone that you just a really great trumpet playing that you'd like to share, and then
For
one piece
sure.
that just is
Well,
is whatever.
I I I oddly enough listen to mostly not classical music. for me, it's healthy to have some space. Otherwise, I just end up going too far down the rabbit hole. Um,
Understand.
but but I mean, probably in terms of a classical recording, um, there's a great recording of Maurice Andre playing with I believe Berlin Philharmonic, doing the Hummel Trumpet Concerto. Um, and I believe Leopold Mozart's also on that recording. Struggling to remember what else was on that recording, but I mean, it's just the most beautiful trumpet sound. It's super elegant playing. I mean, everything Maurice Andre played was just this beautiful, brilliant sound, such polish, um, beautiful lines, beautiful phrasing, and just in complete control. It was really just like somebody at the top of their game peacocking, and it's just lovely.
Yeah,
Um,
well, he's a legend, right? I mean,
oh yeah, oh yeah, that's our guy. He's our guy.
yeah.
And then for non-classical but still trumpet,
I mean, it doesn't have
maybe
to be
my
trumpet.
oh
It could be
maybe
just, what do you put on when you're cooking,
sure.
for instance, or something like that.
Oh, well, I mean, maybe my favorite album of all time, or certainly top 5, is, Clark Terry with the Oscar Peterson Trio. It's called,
Mm,
Oscar Peterson Trio plus 1. It's like
okay,
if
another
a
classic.
good friend of
Yeah.
mine oh, yeah, a good friend of mine and I often say, um, if aliens landed and they asked you, "What is jazz?" You could just put on that album and drop the needle, and they would walk away with a really deep understanding of that, and it's maybe that album could be the best trumpet playing that has ever happened, on
Wow.
record or not on record. It's just beautifully brilliant playing. But other than that, I mean, I listen to a lot of classic rock, I listen to some hip hop, I listen to a lot of, R&B, like, I try to get as far away from work when I'm not working.
Well, it's funny
Um
because you had mentioned Chuck Mangione just a few months ago. I don't know, it popped into my head, but I think I was it feels so good, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What is that, 1980s?
That was 1977.
70s? Yeah, and you've got the crazy. It's just, and you
Yeah,
just put it on, and it's
yeah,
it's great. It's just great stuff.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and then I mean, I made dinner tonight
And
with,
everyone knows it also, but they don't know that that's
oh,
what it
they
is.
they don't know that that's what it is. I mean, my next door neighbor probably heard more Queen than they wanted to tonight when I was making dinner. It's
Sure.
just I'll kind of do drop the needle and let whatever happens happen.
All right. So last question. In all your travels, what is your, because I talk about food a lot. What's
Oh
your
yeah.
what's your favorite what's your go-to, what's your comfort food? Let me ask you that.
Oof.
I mean, you're from outside of Philly. I mean, you could say cheesesteak.
Yeah, no, I mean my comfort food has always been fried chicken. A good fried chicken I will put up against anything. But when I'm on the road, I usually just try and seek out whatever like the local food is, and then go to a couple of spots and then try and pick my favorite.
Hmm. Well, I guess Newburyport. I'm not from there. I got to be careful, but maybe a lobster roll in
Th-
Newburyport.
there's some I've done some preliminary scouting. And I also like to try, you know, drink local coffee or local craft beer, or try local wines
Right.
or
So
local
you're a
foods.
beer guy. Yeah.
There's some really good beer uh, up near the festival
There is. Yeah. Yeah. So.
that may or may not require a cooler in my trunk to bring back home.
All right. Well, Perry, it's been great talking to you.
Real pleasure. You
And
too.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see you and to hear the concert. We've
Oh yeah,
never
it's coming
had
up.
a trumpet. We had at the festival. We had Scott Devereaux, a tuba player, come a
Yeah.
couple of years ago. But this is our first trumpet, so it's pretty exciting.
Oh, we're gonna have a blast.
That's great. All right, man.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
All right. You got it.